Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with another Belief Cast. I'm so excited. I've been pumping out a lot of these lately and with some amazing people, and today is no different. We have Makelle Groves. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And we actually have her mom, Amy, as well, who's mic'd up, and she's going to chime in from time to time.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Thank you.
And her fiance is actually sitting in the room too, Adam. And they're getting married sometime in the end of July or August. And so really happy times for Mckelle, but hasn't always been that way for her. She's an amazing woman. And we're going to get into her story in a minute. But I do need to thank our sponsor, Veracity Networks. My good friend Drew Peterson owns that company. He's the founder. And they sponsor this. And I feel very fortunate because they help push the word out and get this to the masses. And they've been fantastic. So Veracity Networks, you should look them up. If you have a business, you should use them because they're amazing. And I also want to thank everyone for listening and for all the support. We have, I mean, we're up around 30,000 downloads, and it's trending on iTunes. So again, thanks for supporting. And Mckelle, thank you for being willing to come share your amazing story with us.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So a little background on Mckelle. She grew up in American Fork, Utah. She was born with a rare liver disease called Biliary Atresia. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Close. How do you say it, Mom?
Not Atresia, but Atresia.
Atresia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that has been quite the challenge for her through our entire life. And she's going to get into that a little bit. And she's done a lot of service work. She's served a mission for her church. She's helped out with special needs kids and given back in that way. And she's constantly doing things like that. And she is just living an amazing life. She's struggled with feeling different at times in her life because of this rare disease that she has. But she's truly risen to the heights above it and done some amazing things. And so that's what we're going to kind of get into. So I'm excited for our listeners to hear your amazing story.
Thanks. Me too.
So let's start and maybe tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, a little bit about your family.
Okay, so I was born in Provo, Utah, and I grew up in American Fork, Utah, and I went to American Fork Junior High School for my 8th and 9th grade years.
Okay.
My 7th grade year, I was actually homeschooled because I was in liver failure, and I missed out on 7th grade. I was able to go to the first day of school, and I had a PICC line, and I was super, super jaundiced, and I just remember feeling that I just wanted to be normal, and I just wanted to live a normal life. I just wanted to go to school and be friends and just to be happy and to do all the things that other kids my age were doing, even if I was going to 7th grade.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would imagine at that age, that's a tough thing because you're so young. And when you're dealing with this, you probably at this point still don't even understand why you have to have this and others maybe don't, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually got kind of really jealous of my friends. I was like, they're living their lives and they're happy and they're going to school and playing sports. And here I am in the hospital with a PICC line in my arm and I can't even go to school. And so I went to my first day of 7th grade, determined that I was like, I'm going to live the best life that I can. And I went to the first day and I had to come home after school, and my home health nurse came and was changing my PICC line, and I actually started throwing up blood.
Oh, wow.
And I remember just being devastated. I was just like, I just want to be happy. I just want to live a life that everybody else my age is. Why is this happening to me?
Were you in a lot of pain as well?
Yeah, I was super sick, and
Yeah.
I started getting kind of when you have like a lot of like liver failure, a lot of the toxins can kind of build up in your brain and you get really confused.
Okay.
So I was starting to get really
Sleepy,
confused.
really sleepy a lot.
Yeah, I'd sleep all day and sleep all night.
So let's go back just a little bit. So that was in 7th grade when you couldn't go to 7th grade because you weren't feeling well at all. When did how young were you when you, I guess, started to somewhat understand you have this disease? How old were you? Do you remember?
I was around elementary school.
Okay.
Because I was born with it, and I remember my parents telling me, like, oh, you have this little, like, liver disease. Like, you're just kind of special. And that's how I kind of saw it growing up. And I went to school, and I remember sitting in class and being like, oh, like, when they're, like, introducing yourself. And I was like, oh, my name's Mckelle, and I have a liver disease. And I remember just being like, oh, yeah, this is who I am, and this is okay.
Yeah.
And I remember just elementary school kids, it's a different age. It's kind of like the cooties, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it was seen. It was, I had cooties, and they're like, oh my gosh, Mckelle has a disease, run away, run away. And I was
really?
like, oh no, like I'm not as special. I'm different. I'm weird, and nobody wants to be my friend. And I would like try to explain, be like, oh no, you can't catch it. And then they would just run away and just be like, oh no, like.
How did that feel when you recognized these kids were actually doing that?
It was really hard on me. It took a really big blow to my self-esteem, and it actually made me really depressed and really sad.
Yeah. Because when you're that young too, you don't know how to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why are these kids doing this?
Yeah.
And you're so young, you don't know how to process that. So it's understandable why you would have been feeling down.
And I remember I was like, I look just like you. Like, we're the same age. Like, why can't you be my friend? You know? And so I would walk the perimeter of recess, the playground. I would like count how many steps it would take to walk around.
Really?
And like I would run laps around the field, and I'd be like, just to try and look busy, like I was doing something, so nobody would notice that
And then
I
she
was
got
alone.
to be a great runner, though. She was
Yeah.
really fast and would.
Sure. So you were doing this by yourself?
Yeah, I was by myself, just running, and I'd count. I remember like wearing my little light up Skechers as I was like counting how many steps it would take to walk around the field. And it was about halfway through the year when just one day I was walking around the field, and I was just feeling pretty down, and just kind of like, why is this happening to me? I'm not mean. Like, I was trying not to be mean, and I was like, why doesn't anybody want to be my friend and play with me?
Right.
And I just sat there and like in the corner, and I was just feeling kind of down. And then I was just like looking around the playground, and I noticed that I wasn't the only one that was alone. And I noticed that there were other people that were playing by themselves. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in this. There's other people that probably feel the same way as I do. And that broke my heart. I was like, dang it, you know, because I'm feeling this bad. I don't want other people to feel bad too. And like, it took me a little bit, because I was kind of shy as a kid.
Yeah.
It kind of took me a little bit to kind of build up the courage to go and talk to them and be their friend. And after talking to them, I realized that they were going through hard things too. Like, one of my friends had just lost a parent, and she was playing by herself. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people outside of my little world that are going through hard things too. And I just wanted to make them happy and be their friend. So that's kind of where my love of service came from.
And this is in elementary school.
Yeah, I was in 3rd grade.
I mean, think about that for a second. Like, here you are going through this really difficult time, but you had the whereabouts and the wits about to notice other kids, and then have the courage to actually go up and go, hey, what's going on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you? I find that fascinating.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about, you know, because
Yeah.
so young, like 8 years old, 3rd grade,
Yeah.
you know. And I just remember.
I mean, I was afraid of my own shadow in 3rd grade.
Yeah,
let
I
alone
know.
Go talk to someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's real, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you started reaching out to these kids who felt, or you noticed that were also playing with themselves and feeling maybe a little lonely. So you reached out to them, and you know, that's when you started realizing, man, how that made you feel.
Yeah. And I was like, this makes me feel that I'm not alone. You know, other people are going through things too. And even though that I might not relate or understand what they're going through, like, we can be there for each other.
Right.
You know, and we became really close friends, and I gained some like really close friends that I'm still close to, like, to this day through that.
Wow.
Yeah, we just try to listen to understand each other was the main thing.
So did that become your kind of core group of friends?
Yeah.
After, you know, you started reaching out, really?
Yeah, we stayed really close ever since then, and they've been really good support systems through the rest of my life. And just kind of getting to know and understand other people, and that's kind of where I just was kind of wanting to even expand my circle of friends. So I started around high school. I started volunteering at senior citizen centers and just trying to, because they were alone too. A lot of those people there are alone and don't see their family. Right. So I was like, I'm going to go become their family too.
I apologize. I'm getting a little choked up because it just hit me, and I talk about this a lot with my clients, that life happens for us. I really believe that. Like, this difficult time, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet, I know, and I'm kind of jumping in here, and I apologize.
No, it's perfect.
But I mean, look at what it caused you to do. Even you just started reaching out to people who need something, need some help. And here you are. I mean, I guess I'm blown away. I would never have thought of that in high school to go visit a senior citizen, never would have done that. But you did that. That's just remarkable to me that you had that drive to go do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was really fun. And like just hearing their stories and everything they've been through, it inspired me to do better and that things are going to be okay. Like they went through some really hard times and they just kind of talked to me about my life and what was going on, and I'd kind of share a little bit, and they would tell me things that I can't even imagine going through.
Right.
And I was like, how do you do that? How are you so resilient? How are you so happy? And they'd be like, Mckelle, like you just got to believe in a better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if that tomorrow doesn't come, then maybe it'll be the next day.
Right.
And like it will come, because like happiness and hard times, they come in waves. And it goes up and down, and life is constantly going up. One day you're super happy, and then the next day it's a hard day. But those days that up will always hit you again.
Right.
And I was like, that's true. Like it's okay. Like even though I'm feeling down, and there are days where I feel very down, and I'm like, what is happening? And I'm like human, like I break down, you know? I'd be like, can I really do this? But I just kind of believe in that better tomorrow, that it will be okay. And that's what kind of gets me through. Yeah,
I love that. I just would love to hear Mom's perspective as she's going through this as a young child. As a mom, seeing her go through this, how did that affect you in seeing this?
Yeah, it was actually really hard because I feel like I've had, my own struggles in life. And I think I'm one of the people who go through life thinking, okay, when this happens, life's going to be great. Life's going to be great when this happens. And, so I always looked forward to having my own children and thinking that, okay, when this happens, everything's going to go just as I imagine it will be. And I just had really interesting feelings through that pregnancy of being a little worried about things, but then I would think, well, it's going to be okay. And as soon as I can get this baby here and look at her, it's all going to be great.
Be fine, yeah.
And then I get the devastating news that she has a life-threatening illness. And, it was hard to even know how to pronounce it at that time or what it meant.
Yeah.
And I remember just going through those feelings of, no, it can't be this way. And so I went through a big challenge of, nope, this is not how I want life. I want it to be this way. And I used to think, there's times that I think, well, I wish then that I could have looked forward and seen that everything would be okay, because there were many times that they told me she wouldn't live to be a year old, or she wouldn't be this or that. And I remember after the first big surgery that she had as a newborn baby, the social worker gave us jazz tickets to go kind of get away from the hospital. It was around Christmas time, and I remember leaving the hospital and just thinking, what is this? This isn't what I expected. This is not what I want. I can't do this. It has to be this way. And I remember going to that jazz game and just sitting there and thinking of all the losses that I had, and almost getting overwhelmed with the loss and the grief of like, it's got to be this way. But I'm really grateful for those experiences now, and looking back that, sometimes even though life doesn't turn out exactly like we think we want it to, there's always something to be learned and experienced. And so,
well, how did it feel watching her reaching out to people who are struggling and doing this kind of, things that most kids don't do at that age? They really just don't, because we're more into ourselves and this and that. But here she is looking outside of herself as a mom, seeing that transpire. How did that feel?
It was amazing. And one thing that I've really loved about Mckelle is the light that she's always radiated.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, just her sitting here. I'm not to make you feel uncomfortable, but which you are a light, and you can just feel it. You can't fake that, by the way. I mean, I tell this to my clients all the time. We are light. We are energy. We are love. And you can't fake that. And it's either suppressed or it's magnified.
Right.
Yours is magnified. It introduced itself the moment you walked in the room today. And I was just like, whoa, you know, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember one time as a newborn baby, and I looked down at her, and, you know, I had just prayed, and I was like, nope,
Right.
I can't do this. You have to fix this, Heavenly
Right,
Father.
right.
It's got to be right.
Please fix this now.
And
Yeah.
I looked down at her, just struggling to survive, and I saw that little light glowing from that crib, from a tiny infant, and I just knew she was someone special.
Yeah.
And I just had to step back and say, okay, you know what? This isn't the life that I wanted or dreamed of having. It's not going to be this magical, easy journey that I had hoped for. And I just kind of had to let go and just say, okay,
this is what it is.
This is what we've got to do. Yeah. And so, yes, as she grew up and started getting really involved in service, her joy really literally came from going. She would come home from these senior citizen centers or the various things that she was involved in, and just that light would radiate, and she would just talk and talk and talk about, and they said this, and they said this. And, oh, this is so great. Oh, so cute.
Yeah, and I like that message they gave you is almost like, hey, if today's really bad, tomorrow's going to be better. It will be. It's going to get better, and it would always eventually get better. And you know, but like you said, Mckelle, kind of up and down and things like that. And so, great perspective from Mom. Thank you. So you start reaching out. You're doing service work throughout high school. What else did you do during those years in high school?
I also would teach little kids math and reading at the American Fork Library in the basement on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just trying to like be their friend, because I remember I was in elementary school, and that was my hardest time. You know, and I was like, these little kids, they're so innocent, and they just need that boost, that like they're there because they're struggling with math, and they're there with struggling with reading, and like, so I'd help them through that. And I was like, sometimes I just needed a friend. You know, that was because that was something that I desired so bad.
Sure.
Was I just wanted somebody to be my friend and to listen to me and to understand me, even if they don't understand. Like, and I didn't expect them to know exactly what I was going through and what I was feeling, because I've never met anybody else that was going through needed a life-saving organ. You know?
Right.
And it's scary, you know. But I think having that kind of the fear of the unknown, like I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know when I'm going to get another liver infection that causes me to go into the hospital. They kind of come out of the blue.
Okay.
Like I'll just be fine one day, and that night I'll just be having like kind of like flu-like symptoms.
Yeah, right.
And the next day I'll be like neon yellow and in the hospital.
And there's really, it is nothing you can really kind of prevent that. It just happens.
Yeah, it just happens. And there's no cure.
Yeah. Okay. So statistically, she's really rare. Again, it's a rare disease, but then it's very rare to be 21 years old and not have had her transplant yet. It will be coming, but they originally told me she wouldn't live to be a year old without a transplant, and so she gets really sick. We think, okay, this is it, and we start doing the transplant workup.
Yeah, I mean, talk about just stress.
Up and down.
Yeah, every time you're like, oh no, but here you are, 21, and just doing amazing things.
Yeah.
Are you? If a little segue here, are you on a transplant list? Is that how that works? Or
I'm currently listed on the National Liver Transplant list.
Okay.
And just waiting for an organ.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking at maybe even the possibility of a living donor.
Okay.
So
how does that happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
It's actually an interesting thing. Like, the liver is the only organ that can regenerate itself.
Oh, so taking a piece of someone's liver to help.
Yeah. It's a big, major, risky surgery, and so there's a lot of emotion involved with that, and thinking, do we go this way? Do we go that way?
Yeah.
Do we wait? Because, like I said, she keeps beating the odds and kind of pulling out, stabilizing. But how long? There's just always a lot of unknowns of what's right. And
Gotcha.
when to do that. But yes, there is an option that people can donate a portion of their liver,
Really?
and then it does regenerate.
Regenerates.
And
yeah.
then that portion that they transplant into the recipient then regenerates into an organ as well. So
well, maybe someone will hear this story, and maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, you never know.
No, it's crazy.
It'd be great this gets on some ears that need to hear this today.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So, so you're doing this throughout high school.
Yeah.
Are you still struggling though with feeling different, and even though you are reaching out, helping others, are you still struggling internally with some of these beliefs about yourself that, you know, that you are different and this isn't fair and things like that? Will you describe that a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think I stopped actually telling people I had a liver disease in elementary school when that kind of stopped. And then I would go and I'd still be getting these liver infections about once a year. And I would just tell people I had like the flu. Or something, because I didn't want to be seen as different.
Gotcha.
And be like, oh, you poor little thing. Like, you know, I wanted people to see me for me and not see me as a liver or scary, you know, and kind of just that fear of the unknown, because it's scary, you know, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, sure.
And so I actually stopped telling people because I was so afraid. It wasn't until after I graduated high school that I started kind of being like, no, like, this is okay. This is me, and I can talk about it. And there are people out there that are struggling with it too, you know, and just kind of to reach out to other people and helping them understand and stuff.
It's been interesting for me to kind of watch that process though, because you see how it still will surface and those insecurities still surface, you know,
which is understandable, because when it happens that young and you're going through something, you know, the kids are innocent, they're you know, and but sometimes they say some things that are very hurtful, and it kind of sticks with us, you know, years and years later, you know,
you kind of start believing,
you start to believe it a little bit, you know. And so I get why you've got to the point where I'm not going to talk about that anymore, but I love to hear that you're like, no, I'm going to own this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people do need to hear it. And as we get older, you know, we get more mature, like, okay, we're all struggling with something. And again, that's why I wanted you on to share this amazing story, because people need to hear this.
Thank
you know, and so I once heard, you got to own your story or it will own you.
It's very true.
Right?
Very true.
Yeah, that's been very much the story of my life. You know, that right there.
Yeah.
So have you talked to a lot of people who have the same thing? And
I've actually only met one other baby that was born with the same thing that I have. And she had a transplant when she was 1 year old. And I just remember I was so excited for her, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have made contact a little bit with people online, but because it is such a rare disease.
There's not very many out there that are dealing with it. But
she'll hear of and meet, people occasionally, but she's never really had anybody that she's just exactly knows what's going on, because it is a rare disease.
Yeah. So describe, like, so you go through high school. Is there anything else in there that we need to know about? And then maybe talk about what you did after high school.
It was just kind of those same feelings of, I just didn't want people to feel the same way that I did. And I didn't want them to feel bad for who they were or to be struggling alone. Right. Because that's something that I really had a lot, where I felt very alone in things. And
had a lot of joy from your student council experiences.
Oh yeah, I was on student council my senior year of high school. I just remember that was so much fun. Like, I just remember like meeting so many people, and like that's one thing I love, is I just love hearing their stories.
Right.
And me and my best friend in high school, her name was Ashland, we went around to various cities in Utah, and we would just go up to random people and just ask them like random questions about their life. Yeah. Just be like, so like.
So they start a little journal.
And then we'd take a little Polaroid picture of them, and we would put it in their journal, and we'd write down the date, and we would write down the question we asked and their answer. And we went everywhere from like Spanish Fork to like Ogden. And we just go to like random events, and we went to a Walmart at like 11:30 at night. It's kind of sketchy. Yeah. But we went to the little photo place, and I remember we asked the guy, like, just what's going on in your life, you know? And he just was like, He's like, you guys, he's like, this is so hard. He's like, this is not my ideal job. This is not what I want to be doing, but I'm doing this because I need to get food for my family.
Right.
And here he is at the photo booth at Walmart, 11:30 at night. And I was like, how many times do we walk past these people?
Yeah.
And we wouldn't even notice, you know, but here he is. He's like going so much in his life, and he's just struggling to make ends meet, you know. And I'm like, I feel like that's a lot of us, you know, just struggling through life.
And here you guys are reaching out to him in that moment too.
Yeah.
These two adorable teenage girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably made his year by just stopping and actually saying, hey, we want to know what's going on, and we care on some level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then there's another, we went to a football game, and we asked a little grandma, we're like, what's your biggest life lesson you've learned? And like, what's the thing that got you through life? And she's just like, people connections and loving others. That's what is the most important thing to her. And I was like, that's so true. Like, that's what we all want, and that's what we all desire, is to feel loved and connected with others.
Yeah.
And that's what I was lacking in my life. And
Well, it was almost like when you were walking the perimeter of the playground.
Yeah.
It was almost like you're like sending this signal out to everyone, hey guys, I need connection.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like a subliminal thing.
It really was.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Can someone notice that I'm walking the perimeter here?
Yeah. I was like,
Right?
can somebody be my friend? You know?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was searching, and that's what I was desiring.
And then what caused you to notice, oh, well, that kid's by themselves as well.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go connect.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was just so
love it.
focused in my little world,
Yeah.
and just like, woe is me. Like,
Yeah.
a little pity, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'll
How
just
do
do
how do you
this.
not play the victim?
Yeah. It's...
Because you really don't.
Yeah.
But how did you get over that? Because a lot of times it would be easy to play, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
This isn't
And
fair.
sometimes I would even be like, come on, Mckelle.
Yeah.
Play the pity card here.
You know, mom's over here struggling. Like, you need to
like,
struggle with me.
I know,
Come on.
seriously.
Right?
Yeah.
So how did you do that? I mean, did you learn that? Did it feel like it was ingrained in you not to play a victim to all this?
I think it kind of a mix of both. You
Okay.
know, I think it was just kind of, because I think I did have that in aspects, and it kind of still does come in waves, where I'm just like, I get super frustrated and be like, why is this happening to me?
Right.
Like, you know, and
so it is there, but yet I think that experience she had as a little girl saying, I don't want to be different. I don't want to be different. And so
Yeah.
to her, it was a negative kind of thing to be a victim.
Well, yeah, it is a negative.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool. And I think you're right, Mom. It's like, she was like, I'm not going to be the different person here. I'm just like everybody else. So I'm not going to use this as an excuse,
Yeah.
you know? And that's the other thing that's like, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know this part of your story, but I mean, I'm assuming you didn't do drugs, or you didn't drink or anything like that. I mean, that would have been a great excuse.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it would have been a great excuse in the realm of, it would be a way like, well, this is how I'm going to cope with it. But man, you did it through service,
Yeah.
connecting.
Yeah.
That is an amazing message, because, you know, a lot of people who are going to hear your message here are struggling with some form of addiction, or have been through it, or they have a family member going through this. And for them to hear this message from you, that's the key. That's what changed my life when I gave all my money to Lindy at the lemonade stand.
Yeah.
It was that connection that changed me. It was that act of service. And to see you doing that, that's why I said, where did this come from? It's amazing.
Yeah, and, you know, and it's sad because I can see how I even at times, she would come home and she would be like, I mean, she wanted to be on the soccer team. She wanted to play soccer. She wanted to do these things, but fear kind of always made me say, no, I got to bubble wrap you up.
Yeah, I don't want anything
Keep you
to happen.
safe. You know, you've got this great big spleen. You could have a life-threatening injury. But I think through that, she just learned to know who she was and what she wanted and what she was going to go after. And even despite, you know, some of my fear holding her back, it just made her.
I can understand
really
that. Yeah.
Become
Want
a
to
fighter.
protect. Yeah. Well, so let's shift gears just a little bit. I know that you served a mission, and that had to have been challenging in the sense of, I mean, it's challenging, period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To dedicate 18 months of your life to serve, you know, for the church that you love and believe in,
Yeah.
and for your God that you love. And but also the health issues.
Yeah.
You know, so talk a little bit about that and, you know, how that all went. And, you know, I know that's a big question.
Because then I was kind of turning that. I was discouraging that too. I'm like, no, you
yeah,
just
I bet.
stay on here.
That's why I asked the question when you said that. I'm like, okay, but you went and served a mission.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I remember when I graduated high school and I was trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I had no plan. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I was like, do I want to go to school? And I was like, not really. I want to take a break, you know? And I was just kind of looking at options, and then the option of a mission came up, and I was like, I want to do that because that's something. You
saw your friends going.
Yeah.
To be like everybody else.
Yeah, and I saw my friends going, and I saw them having all these amazing experiences and meeting all these amazing people from all over the world, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I just want to meet people and be their friend and hear their story, and maybe they can help me as I can help them too.
Right.
And so I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to go on a mission. And they're like, no.
No, but thanks for asking.
You're like, that was a good try.
So I remember
do something else.
Yeah. I got online. I'm look at all these other things you could do with your life.
And she's like trying to list out all these other things that like are in Utah that I could stay, you know? And I just like remember I just had this strong desire. I just want to go and serve and help.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I was like, I might as well just try. And if it doesn't work out, then that's okay, you know?
And the only reason it wouldn't have worked out is maybe because of the health issue, right?
Yeah.
But so that's what you were testing. Like, here's what I'm dealing with, but I still want to serve. How's it going to go? Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, because I was listed for a liver transplant at that time.
Oh, okay.
And wasn't sure how that would go across, you know? And just kind of the fear of the unknown of getting liver infections so far away from home because I didn't know where I was going, you know?
And we also found out she had kidney problems at that time.
Okay.
And so, I mean, all kinds of just health problems. But yet she was stable. And as you can see, she looks as healthy as could be on the outside.
Looks amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right,
so,
Adam? Yeah.
Yeah, so I submitted my mission papers, and then I got my call to Chesapeake, Virginia.
Okay.
And I remember it's ecstatic. I was so excited.
They're going, Virginia.
My mom's like, that's really far.
Mom's going, that's too far away.
Yeah, she's like,
I was up all night going.
It could have been like, you know, on the other side of the world, like Tonga or something, right?
Yeah, and that was the one
then
thing.
You really...
It needed to be a stateside. Her doctor
Sure, that makes sense.
But they said it needed to be a stateside mission. So.
Yeah, and so I went to Virginia, and I was nervous.
Right.
I was terrified, and I actually ended up getting a liver infection after about 6 weeks of being out in Virginia. And I remember just being devastated because I met so many people. I met this guy that was paralyzed from a back injury, and he was just the most friendly, giving person I've ever met in my entire life. And I remember just thinking like, whoa, like, and I was like, how do you do that? And he really is just like, Mckelle, like, it's that same thing. You just gotta have faith and believe that things will be okay.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of became like kind of the theme of my life. And I just, and I was like, well, just gotta have faith and believe everything's gonna be okay, you know?
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Well, and just even, 10 days before she was supposed to leave originally to go to Virginia, she was actually in the hospital with a infection. And I remember looking at my husband and just saying, why, you know, she wants this so bad. And by that point, you know, I had to put my fears away again and just kind of let it happen. But then I was frustrated because I thought, here, she's worked so hard. She wants these things. Why are we sitting here in this hospital room when she's supposed to be leaving? But with a lot of determination and a lot of willpower, she pulled it together. And
you come across as a very determined person. Like you set your mind to something, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably what's helped you, you know, even make it to where you're at right now.
Yeah. It's like the power of the mind is very real.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like what you believe in, like it will become like your reality, you know, and that's what I've kind of realized is when I believed that I was sick and I was broken, I became that. I became broken, you know, and
Do you hear that, listeners? Man, that's powerful. Yes. I preach this all day long, so you're speaking my language.
Yeah, it's really true.
Yeah.
And when I believed I could do anything, and I believed that I could set my mind to it, and I could serve a mission. I could play sports. I could live a normal life, a normal happy life. That's when my life became good. Like, in a sense, I still had my struggles, and I still had hard times, but those good times became better.
Yeah.
And I didn't see myself as broken, but I saw myself as a person that's worthy of love and worthy of being people's friend and worthy of everything that all my friends had.
Yeah, for me, it's just even accepting that. Like going back and saying, okay, this isn't what I wanted, but I can accept it, and this is what life is, and what am I going to do with it? Am I going to be,
exactly,
just overcome with fear that I can't enjoy each and every day that I've been blessed with, with this beautiful daughter and these experiences? Am I going to keep holding her back, or am I just going to be able to let go? Yeah. And come what may, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have those
fears. Let her keep spreading the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As you're talking about, the mission, in my head, I'm thinking your mission started when you started walking around the perimeter of the playground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because from that point, it was like you started serving and helping others. That's what you do on a mission.
Yeah.
So it really started back then. You're already on it.
Yeah.
And you're probably still on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool to think that?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and then I had to come home from my mission in Virginia after being out there for 6 weeks, and I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
I was like, dang it, and all my friends are still out, and of course I have to leave and be different, but I came home and I still wanted to continue my mission, and I started volunteering and did a service mission here in Utah. And I went back to the senior citizen centers, and I went to the humanitarian center in Salt Lake City, and I taught English to refugees from the Congo and Somalia.
Wow.
And some other places in the Middle East. And they came, and I remember I was so excited.
Which was really interesting because when we were waiting for her original mission call, she came up one day and she says, Mom, I had a dream I went to the Congo. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're not going to the Congo. And here she ends up having this other opportunity, even though the door was closed that we thought was going to work out. She had this other opportunity and ended up actually meeting people from the Congo.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I remember my first day in my little class I was tutoring, and this guy comes up to me and he's like, hello, like, my name is John and I'm from the Congo. And I was like, you are not. Like, it was crazy. And like, I just remember like they would tell me as they gained their English abilities and teaching them to write. And they were people that were older than me. Yeah, and I've helped them find jobs and housing and things here in Utah. And they were just wanting to have a better life. And I remember they were just very determined, and they would tell me their stories. It was almost like surreal. I was like, it's unreal that these are happening to these people, but they're just so happy and they're so joyful, and they had that determination. They were talking about like they want this and they want a good life, and they were just going to make it.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Incredible. So, let's shift gears just a little bit again. I know you're 21, correct?
Yeah.
21 years old.
21.
What are you doing now currently? Like what does a day look like for you?
For me?
Yes.
So right now I'm just working and going to school. I'm going to school to become a psychiatrist at UVU.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I also am still going over to the humanitarian center and still go and volunteer and see them. And I'll still go to the senior citizen centers, and I'll just try to reach out to people that I see that are struggling or need a friend.
Wow. It's kind of like, again, see, you're still on that mission, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. If, people who are listening to your story right now, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are struggling with, whether it's, a disease that they have that's, life-threatening, or, it's an addiction or a bad habit, or they just feel lost or alone. What advice could you give them based on what you've been through and how you've overcome it? What's some advice that you could give someone that might be hearing this that's struggling?
For me, it'd be that you're definitely not alone. That's a big thing for me, and that you're not different, and that you are worthy, and you are of every love and every good thing that the world has to offer, that you are very much worthy of it. Because I didn't feel that way. I felt like I was like broken, and that I realized that I wasn't. And I still struggle with feeling that, but I just have to go back to that and remember that there are so many people around me that like love and care about you, and that you really are, I'm trying to like phrase it, but you really are just unique, and and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
And
and addiction is actually something very close to my heart. I have a lot of family members that struggle with addiction that I love with all my heart. Mckelle is very close to people who have struggled with that, and so I personally have just seen in life, it doesn't matter if it's a liver disease, depression, anxiety, whatever, we all have these unique challenges, and it is really important for us to remember that yes, we need to believe in ourselves, but it's okay to recognize that there are challenges, they're real, we're not alone. We're in this together.
Yeah.
And, I am very grateful for the light that Mckelle does bring into others' lives and my life. And it does help me remember when I am having those down days myself.
Right, yeah.
That we're in this together.
Right, absolutely. I'm going to ask you a big question here. If you could go back and change this, would you?
No. Like, I would have my liver disease and I would live this life that I have. And because it's not easy, and like there are definitely days that are very, very rough and I am very frustrated.
Sure. But
I think of all the things that I've learned through this and I wouldn't have changed it for anything.
Right. Wow. I figured that's what you were going to say. I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. So I was taking a chance here. But the way you live your life, I mean, think about how determined you are to just reach out and make a difference in people's lives. It may not have been as strong had you not had this. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's really true.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, again, life happens for us and we may not know it in the beginning or see it that way, but as we go through our lives, we look back and go, wow, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done that. This led to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think my life would be on a very different track if I didn't have this.
Right.
I feel like I wouldn't have the same compassion for others that I do now. And the same understanding. So I'm actually very, very grateful for it. I know that it's crazy, but I am.
No, it sounds, it doesn't surprise me, honestly. Yeah. I think a lot of people who have gone through something difficult and they've risen above it. See, you didn't play victim to it, which again, still really blows my mind. Yeah. But it allows you to be that light to help other people. And I really think we go through the struggle. So like your mom was saying, so we can give back. Because you think about all the connections you're having with people. Yeah. And I'm sure they leave after talking to going, whoa, I feel better. Just talking to her and seeing her and looking at her attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's really true because it was easy for me in the beginning to be stuck with that anger of like, no.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is, I want her to do this and this and this. And I remember even sitting at that jazz game that I talked about, just thinking of all the things that I thought she wasn't going to be able to do. And I didn't even know if she'd live at that point to be able to grow up and to be married and have a family of her own. And I remember because, I had just had a baby and I thought this might not ever happen for her. And it was devastating. And so, and even if that would have happened that way, I still would have been blessed with the light, and we don't know. But that, I guess, doesn't matter so much. What really matters is, like you're talking about, that, we get what we get. Yeah. And what are we going to do with it?
What are we going to do with it? How are we going to handle it? Yeah. Another thought, just, for our listeners, so you're on this list for a transplant, right? Yeah. Do they give you, and again, I'm really naive on all this stuff. Are you like a certain number in line or is it have to just be the perfect match kind of thing? How does that, explain that so our listeners understand what you're going through there?
So it's a point system. Okay. So depending on how long you've been on the list, you get more points. And how sick you are.
Oh, okay.
you get more points, and the points fluctuate.
Yeah, she has to have blood tests every few months.
So if you're doing good, do your points go down?
Yeah. Even though I still
Interesting.
have this disease
Really?
and I still struggle with it every day, and I have symptoms.
Because maybe it's not as,
Life-threatening.
emergency life-threatening to have it because you're doing pretty good. Or
Yeah.
Is that why? Okay.
Yeah. So it'll kind of go up and down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
So
because she does keep beating the odds and going on, it's a blessing. But then there's still that fear of the disease is there, and at any moment it can change, it can switch.
And then it's also hard, like you can't be too sick. If you get too sick, then they can't transplant you.
Right.
Because it'll be more of a risk.
Because your body can't handle the...
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be in this little sweet spot for a transplant. And it's terrifying to think that you have to be sick to receive something you need to live.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thought.
For sure,
And
yeah.
But there's also a lot of emotions that Mckelle's been through with that too, of knowing. There's just a lot of guilt, I think, that she's expressed of like, when you have to stop and think, but wait, like in order for me to be better, someone else is either going to have to go through a risky surgery and donate part of their liver, or a deceased loved one,
Right,
and that's a really interesting.
It's tough to wrap your mind around a little bit, right?
So there's a lot of emotions involved with that, but
yeah. So is it something you check weekly, where you're at on the list kind of thing, or is it a monthly thing, or just curious?
Yeah, so it's about every 3 months I have routine blood tests, and about every 6 months I have ultrasounds and scans to kind of, because with my liver disease, I'm very high risk of liver cancer.
Okay.
And so the worse it gets, like the older I get, the worse my disease is getting.
Okay.
And there will get to the point where it can turn into liver cancer.
Okay.
And if I get that, then I cannot have a transplant at all. So it will be, then have to treat the cancer first, and then the transplant second.
Okay.
So they're watching that really close. So I get that about every 6 months, and I get blood tests about every 3.
Okay.
And if I get a liver infection, they'll test them about once a week. And to just kind of keep watching your score and just kind of see where.
So she can be looking like she is today, beautiful, bright, shiny, and within hours it can change. And she gets sick.
And could you get a call at any moment? Hey, we've got
they can call you at any time.
An organ for you that
Right now, because she is more stable, her numbers are a lot lower, but then, she'll get sick again and the numbers go up. So it really is a roller coaster.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine going through all that.
Yeah, and that's where we just kind of have to block it out and say, okay, what is today? What are we feeling today?
Right.
What's happening right now?
Well, which makes it all the more amazing, the attitude you have around this. I'm not kidding you. It truly is inspiring to see this and witness this. I know a lot of people who know you who told me a lot about you before you got here today and just speak volumes and volumes of how amazing you are. And I can see why now, to see it firsthand. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners that, maybe a little more advice or anything else that you'd want to make sure they leave with this message from you?
Probably just that belief of that you really can do anything, and that life is good. Life is really, really hard. Like there's a lot of days that I question, like, why is this happening to me, and why have I been dealt this in life? But just, I think that belief of knowing who you are, and that you are loved, and that you are a good person, and that nobody else can tell you otherwise.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. I think too, what I would add to that message is reach out and be that light for someone. Yeah. Just like you've done since you were in elementary school. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That human connection, and you being the one that's going to help someone, and at the same time you were helping you. Yeah. It's a very much a two-way street, you know? And because everybody has something hard in life. Nobody has a perfect life. And that's one thing that I realized growing up is I felt that I was the only one that was struggling. Like I was the only one that was sad, but I saw other people were struggling with things too. Yeah. Even though that I might not understand exactly what they were feeling, and they might not understand how I was feeling, but we could be there for each other and just try to listen and just trying to understand what the other person was doing, and not trying to necessarily fix it for them,
because sometimes you can't,
right. But just be there for them.
Just being there.
Be there. Well, I love that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, if someone wanted to reach out to you and just, if they're struggling and they want to get more information, or they just want to reach out and tell you thanks for your wonderful message, how would they do that?
Probably I'd say Facebook.
Okay.
Probably be the easiest way.
So spell your name out for them and tell them how to get there.
It's Makelle Groves. It's Makelle, and Groves, Groves, kind of like trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'd be the best way to just send you a message,
a
messenger
Facebook.
on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And
because Mckelle loves friends.
Yep, send a friend request. And so, I will challenge the listeners who are hearing this. If you have a question for Mckelle, or you have a son or a daughter who's struggling, reach out, and maybe Mckelle will even come talk to them. I'm going to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah, and I'm telling you guys, if you can witness this firsthand, her light and her aura that she brings in, it truly is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're an amazing, beautiful, smart, brilliant, loving person, and I'm grateful that I've had this opportunity to hear your story firsthand and to sit here with you. It's just, I feel so blessed.
Thank you. It's been great talking to you.
And thank you for everything you do, too.
Oh, thank you.
We really appreciate
it. I feel very fortunate, too, because of my struggles. I'm doing this.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Had I not gone through it, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, and
so
you're
I'm
helping
so glad.
So many people.
Yep, so thankful. And congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the marriage that's coming up soon. And best of luck to you. And friends for life, man. Come see me anytime. I'd love to have you maybe even come talk to some of my clients and stuff.
That'd be awesome.
We'll talk about that off the air. But
that'd be awesome.
Fantastic.
But Mom, thanks also for joining in. It's good to have you here as well. So there you go, listeners. Another amazing Belief Cast. Makelle Groves, what an amazing individual. Please share this with anyone you know who might be struggling or who needs to hear her message. Maybe some of the younger kids too who are going in. I think there's a lot of kids in high school, junior high, and elementary that are walking around by themselves like you did back then, who need to hear this message. And I need to thank Veracity Networks for their sponsorship and for making this possible. And again, thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Thank you. It was fun.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. And everyone out there, I love you guys.